stories about water and urban places. This is Ideanthro. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing mediocrity. Now that I have your attention with that somewhat clickbaity intro and title, let's give a little bit of context to this. There is some phrasing or some wording or a statement that I come across really quite frequently while working in this water sensitive space, this waterway health space, this stormwater management space, that really irks me. And it gets stated, it gets said, it comes up along the lines of something like, and the main threat to waterway health in such and such is whatever. So the way this always comes up in Southeast Queensland, where I live, is the main threat to the health of Moreton Bay and the Brisbane River is sediment. And the way that it's always used is with this implication of sediment's the main threat, and therefore we're not going to go and do anything else. We're just going to focus on mitigating sediment and forget the rest. So it's a case of, oh well, the major sources of sediment into the Brisbane River and Moreton Bay are from rural land, poor practices on rural land, and from erosion of construction sites. So because sediment's the major threat, and because those are the major sources of sediment, what we should do is stop investing in other areas and invest all our effort into mitigating those sources of sediment. And on the surface, this seems like a logical response. Because it's a case of going, if you consider that we might not have enough resources right at the moment to fix all of our problems right away, then investing where you get the best bang for your buck doesn't, on the surface, appear to be a silly idea. It's going, okay, well look, if I've got a limited amount of money to spend, if I have a limited amount of money to spend on getting the most amount of chocolate that I would like to eat, then spending it on the cheapest, best value chocolates that I actually like to eat, I'm not going to buy rubbish chocolates, but spending them on the cheapest chocolates that I like to eat is the best way to maximize my return on chocolate. So spending my limited resources on the most cost-effective ways of reducing sediment getting into waterways seems like a good approach to achieving waterway health. The problem with it is that you end up with that sort of thinking, you end up ignoring everything else. And you end up, therefore, getting to a point, theoretically, if you run this to its fullest, where you've fixed all the sediment issues and you still have rubbish waterways because you've ignored everything else. The fact that sediment is the biggest threat does not imply that it's the only threat, and does not imply that even fixing the biggest threat gets you a vaguely healthy waterway. And that really irks me, because it feels like we can use these sorts of arguments of sediment's the biggest threat or such and such is the biggest threat as a distraction, as kind of punting the problem down the road. Oh well, it's too tough to do it all right now. It's too expensive to do it all right now. So let's just deal with sediment because it's the biggest problem. That sounds good. We're dealing with the biggest problem. But we're not dealing with any problem, because we are still going to have dodgy waterways at the end. Now you might be sitting here and going, okay Jack, how do we know that we're actually going to still have dodgy waterways at the end of that? How are you confident that dealing with the biggest problem won't give us a healthy waterway at the end of it? There's two reasons to be confident about this. The first of which is that when you look in the peer-reviewed literature about threats to waterway health, you see more than just sediment. You see hydrology, you see nutrients, you see in different parts of the world temperature, you see all sorts of different things. Obviously you see clearing of riparian lands. You see all sorts of different things pop up as being important. And the extent to which each is important might change in different parts of the world, But the fact that they're all important, with the exception of maybe temperature in certain parts of the world, no, actually, there could be exceptions. But what doesn't happen is, it's not like, in this place of the world it's sediment, in this place it's nutrients, in this place it's temperature. No. It's a case of, in this place it's this, and this, but maybe not that. And in this other place it's this, and that, but maybe not this. You get where I'm going? Here? So in all instances, in all parts of the world, there are multiple threats to waterway health. That's clear from the peer-reviewed literature. And therefore, if you don't deal with all of them, you have some left over at the end that are still going to be having an impact. And to make this analogy really, really clear, let's use a very Australian example here and consider the Australian cricket team. For people not familiar with cricket, you could probably imagine this as baseball and consider that you have a team that's that's batting and trying to hit a small ball around a field, and you have a team that's fielding, trying to stop the small ball and kind of throw it back to the start and do stuff to get people out. Broadly speaking, cricket and baseball have the same premise, but I'm going to talk about this from a cricket point of view. In cricket, fundamentally, you have two skills. Let's go 3 skills. Okay, there are fundamentally 3 skills, but we're going to talk about 2 to make this conversation easier. Fundamentally, there's 3 skills in cricket. There's batting, there's bowling, which is throwing the ball. There's batting, there's bowling, throwing the ball to the person who's batting, and then there's fielding. Fundamentally 3 skills, but let's just talk about batting and bowling. Let's imagine the Australian cricket team isn't quite as good as it once was. Wait, that's not imagining, we're not quite as good as we once were. And so let's imagine someone sitting there and going, how are we going to get better at this cricket thing? Should we focus on batting or bowling? Well, the reality is, it's very easy to see this in cricket. If the team focuses, say, on only batting to get better, they'll still be dodgy at bowling. So we might score well, but a more well-rounded team would still beat us because they'd bowl better, right? So a team that was good at both batting and bowling is going to always beat a team that's only good at batting or only good at bowling, right? You can't get good at sport without being good at all the components of that sport. Now, you don't need to be good at any other components outside that sport, but you do need to be good at all the things that that sport involves of you. Whether that's as individuals or as a team, because obviously in cricket you have people who are more specialised to bowl and more specialised to bat, but together as a team, you have a team that is good at both batting and bowling. So if the Australian cricket team wanted to get better and were like, what's most important, batting or bowling? And they might be like, well, look, we're currently average at bowling, but we're really poor at batting. Therefore, we're going to focus on batting. We're going to put all our effort into batting. Even if the cricket team manages to make its batting truly world class, you're still only going to have average bowling. So you're going to get better. You're going to get beaten by a team that's world class at both. And this is what we're doing with waterway health. When we start with phrasing that says, and the most important or the biggest threat to waterway health is such and such, and then we use that as an excuse to focus only on that element, it's akin to the cricket team being like, look, we need to get better at both batting or bowling, but we're worse at batting, so let's just get better at batting. At the end of it, you're still going to get beaten by anyone who's focused on both. You're still going to be mediocre. Slightly less mediocre than they were before they worked on their batting, but still mediocre. You're not going to be world class. So the reality is, whenever we have these situations in waterway health where people start to talk about, well, the most important thing is this, let's only focus on that. What that approach is setting us up to is mediocre waterway health outcomes. And that does my head in, because it's a distraction from solving the real problems here. And the real problem here isn't what should we focus on. The real problem is that we need to focus on everything and it's currently too expensive. The real problem to be solved is, how do we make it cheaper to fix it all? And it does my head in that people get distracted to this short-term thinking of, oh, well, I've got to spend this amount of money, so where can I spend it best? Because while it gets the best short-term outcome, it gets us far less far in the end.
Before you go, our best episodes come from your questions. This knowledge base, these discussions that are Ideanthro, improve with your contribution. So if there's a topic, an idea, a concept that you would like us to explore, come and ask us. You know where to find us. www.ideanthro.com/contact. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and that place you get your good podcasts from. You know where to find us. We look forward to hearing from you. We'll see you soon.